Stormwater becomes wastewater, becomes drinking water. We're going to look at Philadelphia's sustainable green stormwater management. It's an approach that's come about through both regulatory changes and political momentum. Philadelphia was incorporated as a city in 1701 and covers about 350 square kilometers. It has a population of 1.6 million, with a total of almost 6 million people in the metropolitan area. The age and size of the city presents challenges for a variety of its antiquated infrastructures. These challenges are compounded by the fact that Philadelphia is one of the poorest metropolitan areas in the United States, with about 25% of its citizens living below the national poverty line. In spite of, and in fact because of these circumstances, Philadelphia has developed one of the most progressive and sustainable stormwater management approaches in practice today. This approach is the product of limited capital, regulatory changes, and a decade of political momentum. The Philadelphia region is a collection of 7 watersheds that drain into the Schuylkill and Delaware rivers. Historically, rain would be collected by numerous tributaries within the 7 watersheds, or the water could infiltrate into aquifers, or the water could be returned to the atmosphere through evapotranspiration. However, with urbanization comes the increase of impervious surfaces and the paving over of a significant number of tributaries. In order to help alleviate the loss of the natural watershed services and avoid overland runoff and flooding, Philadelphia has developed an extensive underground sewer system. The dark brown lines show just some of the pipework in the city's sewer infrastructure. Urbanization brings with it a multitude of impervious surfaces. During storm events, rainwater has nowhere to go but into the channelized sewer system. This presents a costly problem for Philadelphia. In the United States and Canada, municipalities either have a combined sewer system or a sanitary or separate sewer system. In dry weather, both systems perform well, moving municipal sewage wastewater to treatment plants. However, during wet weather, a combined system collects the runoff from the storms and combines it with the sewage. This combined waste stream overflows the system, pushing untreated raw sewage into natural waterways. In a sanitary system, the 2 source streams are kept separate, and the storm runoff is released untreated into natural waterways, while the sewage waste is treated normally. Philadelphia relies on over 3,000 miles of sewer pipes, composed of 60% combined sewer lines and 40% sanitary sewers. With more than 75,000 inlets, a system this large and this old is impractical, if not impossible, to replace. However, the release of raw sewage during storm events is both environmentally and financially costly for the city. A rain event as small as 3 millimeters in depth has the chance to overflow the combined sewer system and result in the discharge of raw sewage, ultimately reaching the Schuylkill and Delaware rivers. It should be noted and stressed that these 2 rivers are also where Philadelphia draws the entirety of its municipal drinking water from. The discharge is harmful for the broader ecosystem, but it's also harmful for downstream municipal users. Facing new regulatory changes and mounting fines for the sewage discharge, Philadelphia needed to find a solution. The Clean Water Act is the federal regulation that oversees the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System and its associated discharge permits. Most cities have been investing in traditional graywater infrastructures since the inception of the Clean Water Act. This includes additional sewer lines, tanks, and costly treatments. However, in 1994, the NPDES introduced a new requirement of long-range planning to decrease combined sewer overflow discharge. Now, to receive discharge permits, municipalities would have to offer long-term control plans, so they would have to create these plans and implement them. In response to this, Philadelphia began to collect significant data to help identify problems and drivers in the drinking water, wastewater, stormwater systems within the city. In 2009, Philadelphia created a new Office of Watersheds. They submitted their long-term control plan to the EPA, and it outlined an ambitious $2.4 billion 25-year plan to reduce pollution discharge through a novel watershed management approach. The plan included very limited additional graywater infrastructure. The long-term control plan, called Green City Clean Waters, called for the development of sustainable green stormwater infrastructure across the city. The goal is to remove impervious surfaces, maximize infiltration, and improve evapotranspiration so that the rainwater wouldn't become runoff. This would avoid the overburdening of the combined sewer system. This approach would enrich the city, improve the outdoor spaces for citizens, and address the sewer overflow issues and related fines from the EPA. The Philadelphia Water Department couldn't afford the cost for the graywater infrastructure required by the EPA, but by focusing on sustainable development, the wider city government has found multiple revenue streams to partially fund the project. Green City Clean Waters was initiated in 2012. The Philadelphia Water Department recalculated stormwater runoff taxes and incentivized the increase in permeable surfaces and maximized infiltration on privately owned land. There were changes in the regulatory requirements for any new or redeveloped land. Any disturbance in excess of 15,000 square feet must be able to retain or treat the first 1 inch of any rainfall. Funds were also contributed from multiple partners. The U.S. EPA contributed $3 million to help jumpstart these sustainable efforts. And there's been a realignment of the broader city budget to prioritize spending related to sustainable green infrastructure. Philadelphia's commitment to sustainable development has touched nearly every aspect of the city's governance. If Philadelphia is successful in this unprecedented effort, it will be in large part due to the interdisciplinary and integrated efforts at all levels of the government, and in no small part due to a continued effort to educate Philadelphians about their environment and their place in it.